65, 70 degrees? Maybe I'm off a little, but can't be that much.
You guys ready?
All right, who's up?
Brian, just what is the status of Denver Harris with the team right now?
Denver is handling some personal matters, and if he takes care of everything, you know, could have him back this weekend.
I got two if I can. Just curious about what Omar Spates brings to this team. Does it free you up to maybe do some things differently, give you more versatility with Harold? And then Jay said yesterday that you're into fishing now. Just curious how much fishing you're doing.
Omar, his physicality and his ability to play in space are, a unique combination. Generally, you have a linebacker that is really good in space but lacks some of the physicality in the box. He brings both of those, which is, a trait that is very difficult to find in college football. You either have, what is known sometimes as a box player who's a downhill run stuffer, but sometimes struggles in space. He's got both of those talents, and so it allows us to move him around, expand, let him get out, and leave Harold in a consistent location. Because look, at the end of the day, if I'm on offense, I want to get Harold out of the action and force him to cover down as much as possible. And Omar gives us that flexibility. In answering your question, how it helps Harold, stay in a consistent location, and we can do a lot of things with him. As far as fishing goes, when you come to sportsman's paradise, why wouldn't you fish? And so I've gotten a couple of occasions to go out and, down in Port Fourchon, it seems like they just jump in your boat. And who wouldn't want to fish if they just jump in your boat? Absolutely.
Hey, Coach, Glenn West right here. Seems like Mason Smith is battling some stuff right now. Can you just talk about what he might be going through and just an injury report maybe in general of how you guys are doing in fall?
Yeah, I mean, I think, he's been banged up a little bit. Nothing that, I think we're overly concerned with. There's no structural damage to any joints or, things of that nature. But, look, he's been out for a year, and everything hurts a little bit more after coming back into it. But, we got to be careful with him. But, again, I think Owen Stanley and Mason have a really good relationship in terms of what can I do and what I can't do. He had an ankle sprain, nothing that we were really too concerned with, but we're concerned with everything, right, when you have a player of his caliber. So we're going to be careful with him.
Leah Van with The Advocate. Coach Denbrock was telling us how having 8 running backs and your depth at tight end will create this competition between the two positions groups for time on the field. So how does having that depth at running back kind of open things up for you scheme-wise?
Well, sometimes you just look at, the fact that we have, the ability to do things tactically a little bit different with four. Like today, we had a number of different tight ends on the field, and, it allows you to do some things that give you favorable matchups. When you put more than one tight end on the field, it has a tendency to shorten a defensive coordinator's play calls because they become limited in terms of situational substitution. I don't want to get into too far down the road here in terms of where we'll end up, but multiple tight ends give you a lot of opportunities to get matchups, and so we like that. It allows us to play physical as well. And with the depth at running back, I think we all know that, and I think you guys have been out here at times where, we've only had 4 running backs that were actually healthy at one time. So even with the number, the number of 8 sounds, crazy. There's the natural, wear and tear on backs that, we want to keep them healthy. And so where I think that real advantage is that we can keep these guys fresh throughout the entire season.
Hey, Brian. Sheldon Mickles at The Advocate. We talked to you about the offensive line on the first day. Obviously, you've had a lot of continuity this year. Can you update us on the backups, how they working in, and what have you seen from them?
Yeah, DJ Chester's is doing a really nice job at center. We've gotten a lot of work with him in the second group. We've moved Martinez over to guard. He's doing a nice job for us there. Hurd's playing at the right tackle. Bordelon's playing at the left tackle. I really like, how they're coming along. I think that, that group in itself has done a really nice job as that, second unit and giving us some confidence in the depth. So we'll see how things play out. We're really looking to see, who is the 5 guys that we have out there right now, which you all know who they are. Can somebody break into that top 5? And so these next few days, we'll take a closer look at it and see if, is there somebody that can break into that top 5? But that's kind of where it is right now.
Yeah, Brian, right here. You have 10 cornerbacks on your roster. You're down 2 right now. How would you look at the cornerback room at this point?
Well, we really think, that it's important to develop all of our quarterbacks at all times, right? I mean, I think that that's a given. And sometimes, you go to camp and you start to work on game plan too quickly. I think we've done a really good job with Daniels and Nussmeier and continue to work. And I think Joe's done a really nice job of staying focused on their technical development. And I like where they've gone in terms of that development at the quarterback position. And Ricky's got to continue to develop because, kind of what you said is that when you only have 3 quarterbacks on scholarship, that third quarterback is so crucial for you in his development. So I'd say that I'm really pleased with the development of Daniels and Nussmeier, and Ricky is we're really pushing him hard to continue, his trajectory, because when you have just 3, he's in the mix, right? I mean, so these next 5 days are going to be really big for him.
Coach over here, Buddy Sanji, Buddy Sports Talk. First scrimmage of the fall in Tiger Stadium. What are you looking to see? How many plays? And secondly, special teams, how's that coming around? Have you decided on your return guys, or is that still a work in progress?
We'll try to get in, somewhere around 60 to 70 plays. It's generally the biggest scrimmage in terms of live work that we'll get. We did some situational, as you saw, goal line work today. So it will be the time where we get a lot of the starters in there, get as much work as possible. And then certainly the younger guys will get the rest of the work. Special teams, I think, is making really good progress. We saw our kicking game yesterday. I was pleased with that. Ramos and Dibert will both be active in the kicking game. Jay obviously is doing a great job with punting. And Aaron Anderson is really, I think, as comfortable of a punt returner that I have seen. We got some work to do on kickoff return in terms of where that's going to be. But he's back there too, Aaron, and we'll see where that goes. We're going to spend a little bit more time on that in the next couple of days.
Coach, down here, Dylan Sanders, 24/7. There's a bunch of new faces in the secondary this year. From what you've seen, the veterans like Deuce Chestnut and Zy Alexander, or a surprising freshman like Ashton Samps. How do you feel about that room now as opposed to the beginning of the year?
I think they've done well. I mean, there's still a lot of work to be done there, but you've got three safeties that are really solid for us, and Andre Sams has been outstanding. Greg Brooks has battled a little bit of heat illness, but he's back and competing. Major Burns out there has had a really good camp. So, having three veteran safeties kind of, helps you a lot. And then Sage Ryan's had a really nice camp. Sage playing both nickel and a little bit of corner for us. So to have four veteran players, in a sense, there kind of balances out maybe a little bit of the inexperience at the cornerback position for us. Chestnut's played a lot of football, so to have him there has been a nice addition because he's a calming influence out there. So when you look out there, you go, wow, there's some new names, but when you go Chestnut and Sage and Brooks and Sams or Burns, you got virtually a veteran secondary out there other than one cornerback position. So when you break it all down, I'm feeling pretty good about where we're at this point.
What does adding a starter, so to speak, to special teams do for the messaging and the importance of that part of your game? And have you seen that impact the guys' understanding of how important it is to the game?
Meaning, could you explain yourself? I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question.
I don't remember seeing a ton of starters in coverage roles last year, and we're seeing them now, I guess.
Yeah.
Does that set the tone of just how important you all are taking it?
Yeah, I think that's part of it, and I think we had a pretty frank conversation with our guys about what the NFL rosters look like. I mean, for these guys to make these rosters, I'll just give you an example. From the fourth round pick or later, it's about a 20% chance of making a roster. So you better have more in your resume than just being a positional player. You better play special teams as well. So we're just trying to be transparent with our guys and let them know that, this is what it looks like. Look, if you're a bona fide first-round draft pick, special teams doesn't necessarily need to be on your resume. But we don't have 5 first-round draft picks. We got a lot of really good football players, but they need to enhance their resumes.
Coach, right here. You talked about kind of those 5 guys on the offensive line. In your experience, is there a number that you're kind of shooting for to make you feel comfortable? Injuries happen, things like that happen. What is that number, and where do you kind of feel like you guys are at that point maybe here in year 2?
Well, I think you always want to have a swing player, a guy that can play, 2 positions for you. Who's that Swiss Army knife, if you will, somebody that has that ability to play a couple positions. And we think, obviously Martinez can play center, he can play guard. So there's a guy that can plug in, play a couple of positions. Who's the next guy, right? Who can play both right and left tackle? Then you're looking for a guy that can plug in. Who's the next best player? So we kind of break it down that way. Who's the utility guy that can play center and guard? And then who can play right and left tackle? So 7, 8, you're looking somewhere around there. And then after that, if you have more than that, you just, you go back to the drawing board and try to put together what you can do.
Hey, Coach, here in the back. Watching your team, it seems like your offense is humming along pretty good at practice oftentimes. A year ago, Mike Denbrock, said their offense was in survival mode. Is it in a much different place, more of a, I know you won't know till you play somebody, but is it more of a well-oiled machine right now?
I wouldn't necessarily go with well-oiled machine. I like the way it sounds, but when you have an incumbent quarterback, certainly, and Daniels and Nussmeier, obviously, that they can run the offense, they can get you into and get you out of bad plays. they make the coach look really good. And that's the honest truth. When they have such a control and a command of the offense, they're in a position. This offense and its structure is set to eliminate negative plays, and they have the ability to control it. So we've given them more control this year in the running game as well, where they're setting the running game a little bit more as well. So I would give a lot of it to the quarterback and his ability to run this offense with a lot more confidence and control.
Hey, Coach. Jason Sherman from Gridiron Football. I know last year, B.J. Ojolari, Alligay, those are the guys on the edge last year. But looking at this year and some of the newer faces, Savion and Quincy and Ovi and guys like that, who are some guys on the edges that you've been pretty impressed with so far during fall camp?
Well, at the jack position, obviously you mentioned Ovi, but, Swinson's done a really nice job on third downs for us. He's been a real good pass rusher for us, and I think the combination of those two guys has been really nice for us. We like what we see there. Parashand is coming on as a complement to Savion. Savion's been outstanding. So we like the edges in terms of what is moving forward for us. Some of the young players are coming on, Womack, Wiggins, they're making progress. And then we think, we've got some really good depth at the defensive tackle position. So feel pretty good about the progress that's been made there. I think Coach Jancik's done a really nice job. Looking for that group to really have an impactful year.
Brian, Malik Neighbors seems like he's playing fantastic right now. What is it that maybe allows him to separate himself as a receiver, and where have you seen him maybe take some improvements in his game?
I think it's his mindset. His skill level has always been there. When I talk about his mindset, it's his ability to come out every single day and maintain his emotions. And really focus on, what's important, and that is being at his best during practice and not being distracted by anything. I thought at times he got distracted, quite frankly, and let things on the peripheral get in the way of how he came to practice, and he'd had some ups and downs during his practice. This year so far, very little to no distractions has put him in a position where his practicing has been very consistently at a high level. If he stays at that level and eliminates the distractions that are so easy to pop up today, he's in line to do some real special things.
Hey, Coach. I was just sort of curious, is it hard to sort of pick out what your sort of running back depth chart looks like when there's some guys that are still out and the room's still as big as it is?
Which depth chart?
Running back.
Yeah, we've purposely not put out one. Like if you went into our locker room, we don't have a depth chart. My experience is once you put up a depth chart, you can go one of two ways. You can become really selfish, or really upset. And I just kind of stay away from them. And we just kind of let them go out and compete every day, It's going to take care of itself, when we get to the season. I just think that, the running back room itself, we know you can't play 8 guys. I just think that experience versus inexperience is going to win out in that room, and that'll take care of itself. Good? All right, thank you.